This is Power 102 Digital Wednesday. Today, Hard Talk with host Farid Ali will put the spotlight on his special guest, Fuad Abu Bakr. Farid will tell you more as we go along. Hard Talk starts now. Good afternoon, Farid.
Good afternoon, David. It's good to hear your voice, and it's wonderful to be here once again. Good afternoon to the listening public. Like always, we try to get and present a guest or someone we can chat with on a week-to-week basis who captures the public's imagination, who is in public life. And today we have uh, a young man, a relatively young man, Mr. Fuad Abu Bakr. He would have um, placed himself in that gap, contesting a general election in times past. He's been involved with the Western Stars Steel Orchestra, I believe. Um, so we've been having a discussion with him just generally, talking about his involvement in public life, his involvement with the steel band movement, or should I say a steel band, and just discussing, his views on things, national issues, local issues, and perhaps pan Trinbago. Let's hope he could add some value on in terms of what is happening in that upcoming election. David, one of the best kept secrets is pan Trinbago has an election on the 8th of October. I haven't been hearing much in the public space by way of newspaper editorial or on the news in relation to that election and how is it shaping up.
Yeah.
Um, Based on the work that we've been seeing Pantry Bagel has been doing in the past few years, there are a lot of pluses for that with this current executive. They've been doing a great job in terms of last year we had uh, Pan in the 21st century and Pan Down Memory Lane brought back on the national circuit, and this year Pan is more beautiful. So in terms of events, I've had my fill of events. I'm too old to attend all the events. I'm recovering between events and not recovering in time to attend the next one. How I noticed
That,
that
that, that, that is something that you ought to have in your genes. It's not just Pat.
yeah,
I've
but I
been
need supplements. I need supplements. I need supplements. Did you make it to the Invaders Juve Republic Day
no,
today?
no. I couldn't make it. It rained giraffes and rhinos and elephants down south. So there's no way I was coming out of that into that kind of weather to attend the Juve. It really rained torrentially down on my end, so much so you had to stay in. Even to come out to go right into my car might have had me drenched. So I didn't want to. I don't like to traverse um, long distances too when it's raining like that. So I don't know how it panned out. I hope it was good. It looked so. I saw some
It,
clips on YouTube.
yeah, it was live on YouTube, and they carried the full 7 hours of it. So it
Yeah,
seemed to be a really good event.
yeah, that's
You know,
good.
I must say that this current Pantry and Bago executive have been doing a lot of work in ensuring that we have events through the course of the year. And people can say what they want about the executive if they are saying anything, but they could never criticize um, the calendar of events and the
Hmm.
frequency of the shows and the events, the programs. The public is not starved for uh, listening to steel band music and steel pan music. But David, you never outright. I go and put in a spot. Who is really a band, David?
My favorite band.
Yeah.
Well, okay. When it comes to stateside performances, that's how I will measure the ratings, if I should say, of any band. Now, I cannot say this is my band, but I'm a staunch supporter of, or I should say, a bona fide, religious, avid supporter of Desperados. I just like their stateside performances. I think they bring to the fore the rhythm of the ground, I would say. The other bands I appreciate steel band. Okay, I appreciate steel pan music. So I would listen to all the bands, and those who are out front with their performances, they have my support also. But if you should, I've been to a few. I shouldn't say more than a few. My old principal used to tell me a few is no more than three. So I've been to a lot of steel pan yards, showcasing of the steel pan and thing. I'll find myself at Phase Two. I'll find myself at Desperados, at Renegades, when they have these you know party like performances and stuff. And you know Desperados have an edge on all of them with me. I think I am blessed with the ability to listen and analyze what I listen to. And I would give Desperados the edge when it comes to the stateside performances, which is really the real band. All of these these steel orchestras, the stateside tells you of their, what should I say? How should I put it? The unique sound. All these bands have a sound. And I give them the edge when I listen to them. When I go to these functions, I enjoy Desperados performances all the time, all the time, all the time. They give you a different kind of feel to steel pan music. I'm not taking away anything from the others, right? I'm just saying I give them the edge. You know, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'll give them like a 8. And the others I might rate them between 7 to 8. That they're that close. But I'm a lover of what I call we music, we culture. So it's difficult for me to say this is my band. I support them big times. I'm a big supporter of NLCB Fanfare too. I'm a big supporter of um of Renegades. I'm a big supporter of All Stars. But when it comes to stage side performances, which is really, like I said, the unique band itself, because the Panorama contingent that they'll put together, not all of them really belong to the band, and a lot of players from other bands move around playing with all the bands. So that there are guys who I see, because I'm at all the Panoramas. There are guys who I see play with 5, 6 bands. I think Trinbago should be acknowledged as the best pan players or musicians in the world for retainance, because I don't know how these guys remember all these different arrangements. But I give Rados the edge when it comes to choice. I mean, if you go back into the archives and you listen to real well arranged the music and stuff, I mean, they had the likes of Clyde Bradley, so that's perfection par excellence. You hear that? Perfection par excellence. That, I'll put that in the sentence here. But all in all, I'm a culture vulture. Everything I do in the media supports what I call we music and we culture. We music, the musical aspect of the culture, tells of all the cultures. You can go across the board, from soca to chutney soca to calypso, pan, limbo, whatever. I am the lip for that when it comes to media work. I do it all the time. You guys make me break the stride and talk all kind of thing. On a Monday, I have Karen Lowness to share. On a Wednesday, I have you. On a Thursday is Marsha Walker. On Fridays, Fathers Association. So, but still, I have my segment on a Tuesday, and I add the social value too. So that's me. But given the opportunity, I will stick to that we music, we culture thing. I'll go straight across the board to express the culture of Trinidad and Tobago via music. So, well, I just saw your guest there, but probably he'll come back on in a short while. But I realize you jump anything and you tell yourself it's just so. You need supplements now.
Yeah, I only realized how old I was when I started.
It's not a matter of how old you are, partner. I'm telling you, this is a thing you probably have to have some genes, that will relate to your persona of the steel band music. Yeah,
I see our
absolutely.
guest is here.
Yes, Abu Fuad is here with us. Good afternoon,
Fuad,
Fuad.
it's wonderful
Fuad,
to see
yes,
you.
Fuad, Fuad, yes, Fuad.
Thanks for taking the time, Fuad, to share the afternoon with us. It's good to see you. You know, we read about you from time to time, and we always we hear through the grapevine your involvement in different things as an activist, as a politician. Um, I recently picked up the newspaper and I saw an article Friday, September 20th, 2024, the Triad News there, where it reflects bad from Trinbago meetings, Fuad Abu Bakr out in the cool. So I step away now, the man involved in the steel band fraternity too. So I read further and I saw that you are actually a member of the Western Stars Philharmonic Steel Orchestra on Mokorapo Roads. And so I read further. Well, naturally we would get into the discussion as to what Trinbago barred you from, but what I invited you here for and all is really to carry a discussion about yourself generally, a biographical discussion about you, your beginnings in I don't want to say public life, but before public life. Like, where did you grow up? What schools did you attend? And I know that you're also, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're a qualified lawyer. You're called to the bar in trying to Tobago.
No, no, I'm not called to
That's
the
your
bar.
brother?
No, no, no. I am um I have a law degree, but I'm not called to the bar. So
Okay.
people often make that mistake. I'm glad not to be practicing in our jurisdiction at this time. It's a tremendously difficult prospect. Um, I never had intentions to practice law, to be honest. Um, Somehow in our societies, we feel as though if people don't have degrees to their name, that what they say doesn't matter quite as much. Um, and I relish and I really enjoyed the opportunity to be educated in England and to successfully have that experience. But it's not all that it's cracked up to be, and certainly practicing law in our jurisdiction, as you would know, is a hell of a prospect. Um, and my real calling is, and I feel as though God has prepared me as well in many ways, is for leadership and transformation, trying to guide my country and even my world in a proper direction. That is where my passion is.
Tell us something. Where did you? Well, I mean, everyone knows who your father is and was. But
Yeah.
tell us something about your upbringing. Where were you born? Where did you grow up in Trinidad as a young man?
Yeah, so I laughed a little bit when you said before public life because I don't know when that was. Um, Growing up, Fuad Abu Bakr, growing up Abu Bakr, because I have other siblings as well, presents definitely major benefits, but obviously there are challenges associated as well. And one of them would have been that I have always been conscious that my life is under the public sphere and scrutiny. My father was an imam, so the pastor children, right?
Yeah.
Everybody looking up, looking at. Some people want to find a fault, etc. Um, so I've always been somewhat conscious from my conscious stages as a young man uh, of public life. I went to we have a school at the Jamaat. I went to that preschool at a very young age, but because I was born in 1985, it was obviously destroyed during 1990. Uh, all of the buildings at the site at number 1 Mokorap Road, except the mosque, was destroyed. We had a number of institutions set up there. They were all leveled to the ground, and therefore we had to seek alternative schooling when those buildings were destroyed. We had to seek alternative abode because our home literally was destroyed as well. So after that short period in our school at Mokrapo, which has been rebuilt now, I attended St. Gabriel's private school. I remember fondly my favorite teachers there. Oh boy, if I call names and I forget out, I'll get licks. At this age of 39, afraid licks from Miss Niles, Miss Robinson, so many other. Miss Phillip was our principal, Miss Maximin the secretary, and Miss Phillip, I believe, was some type of pumpkin vine to my father, who was Lennox Phillip, and they embraced us in this private school, even around that time of, right after July 27th, 1990, etc. And it was, it is, those are the formative years for us as children. I would have attended primary school at that institution. And it was a wonderful experience.
I think for the short little break we have there, we got a break in transmission and connectivity. So if our listeners experience that break, he should be joining us or rejoining us shortly. For the listening public, we have Fuad Abu Bakr, uh, politician, social activist, sharing his afternoon with us, sharing the afternoon with us, and we'll be discussing a number of things. His political life and, some of the ventures that he is a part of, his relationship with Western Stars, Philharmonic Steel Orchestra. And we're just going to have a general discussion about his involvement in trying to be in social life in Trinidad and Tobago, and some of the aspirations that he has and so on. David, in the interim, I know you told me you have a bias towards for Desperados. I can't even publicly say where my bias lies. You're back with us.
So and I'm laughing again because I hear that statement there.
I'd hide my bias.
My heart goes out for Farid.
He's a desperate boy.
I am the desperado.
All right. Bless you.
Farid is trying to acquaint himself and associate himself with one of them.
Right. I would not I have a band that I lead, but I would not extend my my preference further because of my involvement in administration as well. And well, as we would get on to it a little further, I have offered myself in the past in Trinbago for administrative responsibility. I believe I came second in the election for public relations officer last election, when there was actually an election 6 years ago. So that was my first offering at that point, and I had been extremely new in the organization. And I think 100 and something people for giving me that support at that point in time. So we will come back to that.
Yeah, we're getting there. We have some time, so we're getting there. So you were saying to us that you attended St. Gabriel's private school. After St. Gabriel's, what school did you attend?
So then I went to Queen's Royal College, QRC, right? And again, a real tremendous experience for me as a young man. The institution is par to any and above par of most, if not all. I don't want to,
Let's not go all. Let's say at most.
Mr. Simon, my history teacher, and the principal now, so many other staff at that institution, I give absolute credit to their dedication, their tenacity. One of the most exhausting jobs that I've ever taken on is teaching. And I was just teaching a class for 2 hours, so it is something you give of yourself. And I revere and I give full respect to all of the teachers in Trinidad and Tobago. I have two sisters who are also teachers, and I really give them full kudos and respect. I drop my children for other people to take charge of and to teach, and I'm sorry for them. You know, it's a real fundamentally important responsibility within our society, one that I definitely respect. So when I speak about my education process, I will always mention, you know, teachers who mean a lot to me, you know, who gave that effort to lend that love and that spirit and really helped to guide me in my education process. So it was St. Gabriel's private school. I could sing Jesus Love is Bubbling Over for you. Um, Such is the multicultural, multi-religious nature of our society. Um, I used to remix it uh, to myself and say Allah's love is bubbling over, right? But God is love, and I understood that, and I enjoyed my time in both institutions, and I was able to lay a foundation for myself to go further forward. I have a unique experience of leaving Form 5 in QRC and living for 2 years in Libya, which is in North Africa, uh, uh, a Arabic-speaking country and also a Muslim country. And that was another, you know, really eye-opening experience for me at a young age, living on my own to some extent, attending an international school with people from somewhere around 70 different countries, learning to speak Arabic and also learning Islamic jurisprudence, fundamental in our understanding of life and the lessons that we must learn are our moral, spiritual underpinnings and education. I feel as though within our society, to some extent, that is extremely lacking. That is somewhere we have somewhat fallen short, and it is our moving away, in my opinion, from God and His tenets, morals, and spiritual values that sees our society going in a very negative direction. So, you know, I had that experience in Libya for 2 years. I returned to Trinidad, and again, God has blessed me tremendously to learn from some extremely important figures in Trinidad and Tobago. I had Miss Pamela Elder teach me A-level law at Elder's educational facility. Mr. Elder as well, a stalwart. I don't know if he's been awarded. I see some awards given out. The Wasting Awards. You know, I could think of some people who deserve some awards. Mr. Elder, founder of Elder's educational facility as well, who had an impact on my life. My sociology teacher, A-level sociology teacher at Elder's as well, who was very open-minded and honest in the way that he analyzed our society. My psychology teacher, etc. So I did A-levels at Elders in order to facilitate for entry into university in England.
Uh-huh. You mentioned the grounding that you got at QRC. I can attest to what academic life, how it builds you and how it molds you. How by the time you got to QRC, you would have been a young man in 1985. In your time and that time period you spent in St. Gabriel's, you would have been interacting with young persons like yourself. My question is this: given your father being an imam and all the social underpinnings associated with his public life, how were you received by your students and the student body and the time that you've spent in QRC? Because by then you would have been entering into your teenage years.
Yeah.
So you know how mischievous young people could be. I would imagine that you would have had to rub shoulders with persons who would have had an opinion on your background.
Yeah, yeah. Children are very forgiving, and sometimes unconscious of some of the issues that are taking place in the wider society, especially when there's a fraternity of brotherhood in an institution as well. You take people on face value, you take people on how they treat you. And I really appreciated that about my peers. I was born in 1985, so a little after in school. I remember in St. Gabriel's, we started a trend. Um, Everyone would wear short pants, usual in primary school.
Mm.
But us being Muslim, we lean towards the navel, knee covered, etc. We were allowed to wear long pants, long khaki pants. And by the time we were finished in St. Gabriel's, half of the school was wearing long khaki pants instead of short pants. I guess kids got less bruised knees. Parents preferred it.
But, but it was a trendsetter from a long time.
It was something so, something so. um, Listen, I only realized afterwards in QRC that some of the children that I would have spoken to and been in class with, sometimes higher forms, their parents were lawyers and magistrates. One of which was in a matter with my father. You know, so boy, we didn't pay attention, and parents had a way they did not involve their children in big people business. You know, as we got older, then we became a little more conscious. Innocence departs. There have been a few instances of people victimizing me, you know, during that time period. But by and large, it was a period of respect from others. Um, Love. I sent out the 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 notification of this interview to my friends, to my groups. Is a QRC group, old boy group, is a football group, is a news group. I am a Trinbagonian, and yeah, I am Abu Bakr, whatever, but I am who I am to them because of how I treat others, how we live with each other. It's beyond just a label or a name. It is what I stand for, my philosophy of life, um, and that is what matters.
Surely your father being an imam and being who he was, that may have had a constraining, restraining sort of impact on your personality. Is it? That's a question. That is. Do you feel that being the son of your dad, that you had to behave and conduct yourself in a particular way, or you growing up in QRC, you felt the liberty to be mischievous and to be yourself?
Well, myself is not mischievous, but listen, there are elements of self as you try to find yourself, exterior um, pressures that are placed on you. The society shapes your culture, etc. But you also have to have a conscious decision as to what you believe and where you want to go with yourself. So those currents are what young men and young women fight in school every single day. Every single day. I could just imagine what young people are going through today in secondary school, in in an environment that is becoming even more challenging, with external pressures, with external ideas that are not not even near to the norm, far more close to conservative or religious perspectives. So, it was an interesting time. You ever went to a Mayfair Fareed?
We had many of that when I was growing up. That was the main source of income for schools in those days.
But you
Every
know,
year.
the Mayfair is not just your pelt ring toss and whatever. It used to have a disco after, right?
Yeah.
My father not alive anymore. I could talk about this. My mother might cut my tail. So you say, mommy, daddy, I want to go to the Mayfair, you know, thing, and they gave money to go to pell down orange juice cans and whatever. But you
Yeah.
want to go to the disco after to lime with your partners, to talk to a girl, to, you know,
Yeah.
there's, I mean, in Trinidad and Tobago, you know, these are things that we had to grapple with or deal with as young people.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and you employ a little bit of deception um, into the mix to experience what other people, you know, talking about and going and trying to convince you is, yeah, boy, it's so much fun or whatever. Um, I, I'm Trinbagonian, but I am Muslim, and then I respect and I understand the tenets and the provisions of my religion. I have not had to burn to learn in many ways because, you know, I've followed certain tenets throughout my life. We make mistakes as young men and young women. We may stray as well, you know. And I say to young men and young women, continuously pray, pray. You know, seek God's guidance, and even if you stray a little bit, God will bring you back on the path once you pray, once you ask for forgiveness and you try um, to stay on that path. You know, so it was interesting is the battle of life. You know, the inner battle of life. Yeah.
Did you play sport?
Yeah.
Did you represent QRC at any sport whilst you were there? And I know you have a brother, Radanfa, right, who would have played national level football. But were you on that level?
He's definitely the more successful one football wise. Successful. I think I was better than him at one point. Um, he surpassed me thereafter for sure. No. So my brother is the first one, my bigger brother, who was a goalkeeper for QRC. Um, First 11, you know, enjoyed intercol. Um, and I left school at Form 5. I think I would have had a chance to play first 11 if I stayed on in QRC for lower six and upper six. But that was not my path in life. And I think very young in my life, I understood that, you know, I have purpose and different purpose. So I love football, but I was always willing to make the sacrifice to do what I think God has you know, prepared me to do to some extent. So you know, I chose to leave school at Form 5 and go to Libya. And I had a lot of fun playing football in Libya with some real tremendous players as well. Even university football after that in England was a tremendous challenge. My brother came across to university as well for a while, and we played together in non-professional league at times. Big up the UK Trinidad crew, right? To have a whole um, clip, you know, Mill Hill United. That's one of the teams we played for. Kingston University I attended, so big up Kingston University and, you know, my university team as well. But I still enjoy football a lot. And I play competitively as well. I have a ankle that is still aching me from a minor league game in Carenage, uh, in a league that we played, very competitive with national players and all, you know. So, but my brother is the
Don't
footballer.
call name of the national players because they ain't supposed to be playing in any minor league anywhere.
They ain't playing right now. They were playing.
If
Yeah.
it is,
So
if you have to pick out a moment in QRC that stands out in your mind when you look back that makes you laugh, what would be that experience that you would reflect on? It could be anything, a classroom situation where you remove the back of a man chair and he sit down and fall through.
Nah,
Or
man, I don't practice wickedness. Nah, that not
we
it.
used to do that. I did that to too many people in my time.
Uh, boy, so many experiences in QRC, fun ones as well. Um, we came up with this creative idea of some fictitious creature, and we used to um, hit people with it, basically our classmates. And that was extremely amusing to us at that point in time. I can't believe that's what was amusing to us. But yeah, I remember that fondly. Quite a bit of laughs. I mean, football day and night, after school, lunchtime, sweating barefoot in no man's land, rainfall, like rainy season now, and you're skating in the water on the field. It was all in all an excellent, a wonderful experience.
You ever
QRC,
break beach? You ever break beach and run away from school and go on go on cinema? Or
nah,
you
nah,
just
nah.
go on somewhere to watch TV?
Nah, we missed that. Nah, I missed that. Here, what we used to do. I mean, we's college boys, so we running away from school in a smart way. Um, if you went to do scoreboard in the oval, because QRC used to do the scoreboard for all international games, you get to escape from school. So I used to do scoreboard. You go and we in the scoreboard, literally the structure when it was manual. Mr. Warner would manage the process and he would call the scores, and we pay attention and we change the numbers to reflect what is going on in the game. And that's how we duck school and
I
sports. We
I
don't duck school breaking beach. Nah,
I
always trouble.
attended I attended every music festival, every event in Queen's Hall that they had. I would go.
Yeah,
As
man,
for
yeah.
what happened in Queen's Hall, I could barely remember, but I was there.
That sense. That sense. Yeah. Yeah, that's that good stuff. All that, I ain't that. Back in the day, I would have been that. You know? So we thoroughly enjoyed our education process, and I wish more children enjoy the process. I'm not saying to be less competitive in terms of your academic achievement, but I have no regrets. Um,
When I
you know,
look at the young people now, I say that they spend so much time engaging technology and playing video games and online and internet, the World Wide Web, Instagram, Twitter, X, everything. It's so distracting.
yeah,
Um, I I wonder if young people get the time to spend time with each other and to laugh and to play. People don't understand what playing is. Playing is physical activity. It's out there learning to developing your body, developing coordination, developing rhythm and timing, um, and you could do that in so many different ways. Not playing music alone, but playing sport and socializing. We seem to have lost and seem to be losing young people in the context of young people don't seem to be communicating with devices. They're not communicating with each other. So you're
yeah,
not developing bonds. You're not developing relationships and learning how to live between and amongst each other in the way that older generations would have.
yeah. They're missing out. They're missing out, in our opinion. And they might say we missing out, but they term people who use social media as users. It is the same term that they use when they speak about people who use drugs, users. And there is this competition for our time. And time is life. I've always known that time is life. So we spend our lives engrossed in some of these technologies, etc. And really and truly, what do you achieve at the end of the day? How much is that stimulus positive for you as an individual? My kids, before I came onto the platform, they say, "Let we play hide and seek." And if I didn't have to come on to do this interview, I would be playing hide and seek. You know,
But
we
I
have to live.
enjoy that. I used to hide in the wardrobe behind clothes, playing hide and seek.
Yeah. I have one of my daughters.
Under the bed.
One of my daughters real skillful. I just had to give up, you know, because can't find her. And she quiet too, eh? So it, enjoy life, boy. What I could say to people, enjoy life. I still climb the trees that my father has planted in the yard that I live in now. I you know I enjoy having time to pick the avocados and pick the starch mangoes. I don't just enjoy eating the mangoes and the avocado. I enjoy climbing the tree. You know, live. I enjoy playing my football. Don't get between me with that. Um, I just say, listen, I need to do that. That is part of my relaxation in my life and my exercise. I don't need to go and spend money to go to the gym because I laugh and running behind a ball, etc., etc. We have to live. We have to live, and the social interaction between human beings ignites something in our spirit that is essential. When we become disconnected, so it's not natural. It's not human, and sometimes we become inhumane or less human. And I think we are also seeing a reflection of that in the society as well.
Tell me something. You're a married man. You have children. Um, how does the Islamic man view women in general? I know that there is family life and you have your wife and children.
Wives,
But
wives,
there's
I'm a
a
Mus-
there's
wives
a
are, yeah. I'm a
well,
Muslim, so I had to correct you. I have two wives, so I just correcting you there.
okay. So tell me, there's this notion that Muslim men, um, they they are the centerpiece of the home, and women are not equal to them. Could you walk me through that? Is that a true perception, or is it? How does an Islamic man view women in general, and by extension his spouse?
So God is supposed to be the centerpiece of your home, right? Not mankind, not me, not my wife. God is the centerpiece of your home. Our direction and our eventual aim is heaven, paradise. And I think this is probably common to all religious perspectives, as far as I understand. I could be corrected. And we live with that purpose. We live with purpose. We live to serve others, to fulfill our responsibilities, because that is what God wants us to do, right? We revere women. When I say woman, I think about my mother first of all. uh, my mother, even though she is very very private, um, is a rock in my family. Even in the absence of my father now physically, she is a rock in my family. Um, Stricter than my father. you know, Growing up, it is not my father's voice I hear in my head if I'm going to leave somewheres in the sink. Is my mother voice I hear. You know, um, it is my mother's feet that I rub. You know, Absolute respect, adoration, love, amor, hub. I had to find other languages to say it in to explain the feeling for mother, first of all, and for woman, right? And we respect women, and we understand their fundamental importance in the structure of family. And he who finds a good wife finds a great thing indeed, a great blessing indeed. uh, they are the first guide to your children, which
Jeez, and ages.
No, we'll be connected soon. I feel there's some small issue there, but
Well,
listening.
that's the digital service we get in Trinidad and Tobago. Sometimes there are areas where fluctuations will interrupt events like this. You know, I'm not Muslim, but most of my friends are Muslim. And I just love the teachings of the Quran. He's back with us. Let me leave it up to him. I'm listening intently, Fuad. I was just
I wanted to guess who was calling there and cut off my interview.
mommy.
Your wife.
Nah, one of my wives.
They like that. They're jealous
I,
even when you're there.
I can't. No, I can't say speak of the devil because that would not be correct. um, and again, you see, you mentioned something that is extremely important. We all, as human beings, have innate in us the propensity to good and the propensity to evil, and it is for us to find and to bring forth the best of ourselves. If we allow negative emotions and negative um, actions to overwhelm us, then we become negative and not the way that we are supposed to be. But if we inculcate and we engender and we strengthen our goodness, our good side, and positivity and virtue, then we become um, this great creature that God has created, who He has raised and lifted so high. So that challenge is our challenge of life, right? And we must overcome the worst of ourselves, and we must realize ourselves as full human beings, as the best of creation that God has created. And that is the challenge for man and woman. That is the challenge for man and woman. And we all individually are responsible to our creator. And we all have to answer. So, we are blessed to have companions in life. Some of us are here and we don't have companions. Um, and that relationship should be one lived in love, in respect, and both or how many other parties should help each other to realize themselves in the best possible way. So we have we as Muslims, me as a man, I have utmost respect for women. In the Quran, it says that He has given us a responsibility, right? It's not that we own a woman or a woman owns a man, but we have the responsibility to fulfill our obligations towards our companions, and they have a responsibility towards us as well. So I hope that kind of
But it invites another question. You're saying you're Muslim with two wives. Most men out there listening to you would find it overwhelming having a wife and having to interact with a wife and then women tend to they like control. If I may say, they like to have the equal say. They like to win an argument. How do you win an argument with two wives?
I've never won an argument with a woman in my life. That's why I don't argue.
Okay. All right.
Well answered. You
That's
know,
an exercise in futility.
yes, a guy told me you have to be in the Ministry of Agriculture. You have to agree. Yeah.
Listen, I say what I have to say in terms of, and it's not from a place of I want to win or I want to, from a place of advice. And that's it. You know, one or two lines, maybe I respond once, and then when it goes into that place of no return, of it doesn't make sense, I'm out. I'm not. I'm at 39, you should be mature enough to understand these principles. My father has taught us as well, even by example, how to deal with our wives, and we should just try to employ what makes sense. Some of our parents are able to show us that. If we cannot find good examples in our parents, then we should do the research to try to understand how to live with our spouse or whoever else, um, because it is part of life, an essential and a very rewarding part of life to have a companion or companions, um, share this time that we have, this short time that we have on earth.
On Mother's Day, who do you spend time with? You have two
My
wives.
mother, my mother,
Okay.
then my
That's a good
mother.
answer. Do you have issues of no, I'm not trying to pry into details. It's just general questions I'm sure the listening public could be curious about, and we have you here. Do you have issues of jealousy between them in terms of they try to hog your time? Who gets the more time with you and less time with you?
Well, they have the issues of jealousy, and as I said, human beings need to try to manifest the best of themselves, and I could try to guide, and they have that challenge. If you don't pass a test, you are forced to repeat it continuously before you go on to another um, grade or level in life. And jealousy is not something that is positive, right? We all agree that it is not a positive trait. And as human beings, we need to overcome these things. Selflessness is the opposite of of jealousy. And the more that we can be selfless, the better for ourselves. You know, in theory, I might say it's easier than in practice, but try to practice it. People need to try to practice it instead of pandering and just following what is the trend in society, or what people or evil encourages. I feel strongly as though popular behavior and culture is shaped by very negative forces at this point in time. And it drives human beings towards the destruction of family, to selfishness, to greed, to jealousy, to all kind of negative things. It reinforces those concepts. And that is not how we are supposed to live as human beings. We lost our way real bad, sorry to say,
Mhm.
you know? And that is reflective in the society, as you know.
When you when you employ your time on a day-to-day basis, I'm sure that you would have to make decisions, and like everyone else, um, like myself, I would turn to people that I think could help me make a decision.
Mhm.
How do you make a decision when you have to consult someone? It could be simple things, whether it's personal or it's professional. um, I'm referring to the wife situation again.
Oh.
Do you consult both your wives, as in what's your view before you embark on a political career, or and involve yourself in a general election, put yourself in the public space? Or is it that you make a decision, and you
Well, well, it,
suggest?
well, it depends. Part of wisdom is knowing um, who to seek advice from. If you have a specialist in geology as your secretary or your wife or whatever, then and you're going to deal with a geological issue, I would think you would consult them.
Yeah.
Um, so you draw on wherever, and I'm not even talking about just because I share my life with beyond just my wives. I share my life with my brothers, my sisters, Some really influential people in my life as well. Obviously, for a long time, my father, my mother. Um, I, I share my life with some of the uh, people on YouTube, some of the Quran. So you seek, if you're going to answer a question or be guided on a topic of astronomy, then you look for someone who has knowledge in that field. That's the wise thing to do. So there's no one in particular, um, per se. I must say that having my father pass away some time ago, pretty recent to some extent, you become even more of a man because that figure is not there anymore. That if you had a father, some people are blessed to have a father. I understand that I am blessed. Some people did not have that, you know, and I understand that as well, and I sympathize with their situation because they would have to grapple to try to find that from someone else. Um, but you become a man because now there's no one to consult in being a man as well. Unless there are figures around you which you can draw on.
The decision you made to go to Libya. Libya is not, the Western world as we interpret it. It's not the Americas. It's not the US. It's not the UK.
Beautiful Africa.
Yeah. There would be a stigma attached to going in such an environment, especially where, the name Muammar Gaddafi is so closely related to it, and the perceptions and the over and undertones. Um, what was the experience like? What did you learn out there, professionally or personally, that puts you in a position now where it molded who you are? And
Yeah.
and
But
I'm curious about the Libyan education. I mean, I've never heard of or heard what I can get there. I mean, it's not something I would recommend because I don't know. We
yeah,
can
well,
only talk about what we know.
certainly not now. They've destroyed that absolutely tremendous nation,
Hmm.
right? Again, I would have attended an international college with um, diplomats, children, and other scholarship winners from across the world. You know, uh, I have friends in Albania, China, Russia, um, Nigeria, uh, all over. I have friends from and the Gambia, like friends who I've spent 2 years with, who I sat in class with, who we lifted weights in the forest to, so just the experience alone is eye opening. Just the cross interaction because there's always this interest in where you're from and where am I from and what you all is doing, who are you and what and culture. I have to say, that was probably the most tremendous experience to me. Um, Obviously, England as well is eye opening because that is another multi um, uh, multicultural, also a mixing pot with people from all different countries as well coming to university. You know, that is the most beneficial aspect, in my opinion, of actually going into a different country and having that experience. You, so I learned a lot. I learned a lot in terms of culture, interpersonal skills. Um, I learned how small the world is and how human we all are. You know, so and Libya was, I mean, a beautiful place, a developed country, rich. When I tell you rich, back in the day is free healthcare, free education. You reach the age of 18, you get an apartment. You know,
They give you
real
an
nice.
apartment when you turn 18?
Yes, yeah. just vast oil wealth and a small population. I mean, there's always a reason why these Western powers go into our country, you know. They don't go in the poor countries, really, you know. They go where they have, you know,
Where it's a loop.
resources. Yeah. So Libyan oil is one of the sweetest crudes that there is. It's just really easy to refine, and they have a large deposit there. So that's too much for the people of Libya. They wanted it, and they find reasons, and they destroy the people country. And while all this turmoil and destruction going on, Farid, guess what's still pumping? The oil's still pumping out. You know, it's an absolute shame. Again, my experience and my teaching from Mr. Simon, the plantation system really opened my eyes in secondary school. I think Caribbean history is essential for all students in the Caribbean to understand what happened to us, what our history is, the history of exploitation, the history of slavery, the history of viewing other human beings as less than, as a justification to exploit them, to create wealth for yourself, the selfishness and the greed of these systems. And when I apply that teaching to what I see in life, I mean, I have a clear understanding of what is going on. And I think that they don't want people to be educated. I think they don't want people to understand what is taking place and understand why there's so much destruction in Trinidad and in the world.
When we look at the daily life and living of our Trinidadian uh, young people, they are being socially engendered in a culture of political divide. They are being socially engendered in an environment where its education is about competition, getting into the best possible school. Um, when we look at the state's role in developing our young people, um, so much of what is being instilled in young minds is that you're either PNM or you're UNC. You're either Afro or Indo. Yet still, we are being taught in school that, we are one people, it's a plural society, and we all live in love here. Um, so there's a hypocrisy in the education system. There's a hypocrisy in daily life.
Yeah.
I often say to young people that when you travel, you recognize that you're not waking up to stories about Rowley and Kamla and Manning and Pandey. That narrative that is constantly being thrown on us, thrown on young minds, that culture is almost by design, they're keeping us down. We don't recognize there's a life beyond the politicians, and the politicians aren't role models. The politicians aren't the kind of people that you want to grow up to be. When you listen to what they say, the narrative, the discussions in parliament, the crude language, when you're looking at role models in your life as young people, when you study, you tend to look at people who actually changed the world. Yeah. Rowley and Kamla and Manning and Pandey and when you travel, people don't hear about them, unless there's some bacchanal. So I'm not knocking them. I'm just using them as examples. I'm sure that they see C.L.R. James, and there are, Kwame Ture, Lloyd Bess. We have produced people who are impacted. Yeah. But I'm saying the politics is a dirty politics. It's not a healthy thing for young minds. If a young fella tell you in KRC that he want to join a political party and he wants to be a party A and party B, I mean, his parents might be disappointed to know that this is the pathway that he wants to walk, because there's a cultural underpin to either party. And when you look at the parties generally, they're not offering a better way, a better life, or a different life to the young person. So, you're living life and it's stultifying. It's not stimulating. Yeah. What encouraged you to get into political life? One, And what encouraged you to come back to Trinidad? Because you experience outside. I would imagine that doors would have been open. Your friends all over the world who are professionals now, I'm sure they could offer you, or at some point could have offered you in terms of opening a door to a different life in a different place. What caused you to remain here?
Yeah, so I see Trinidad as having such a tremendous potential to become, a model of paradise. We have tremendous potential. We have certain idiosyncrasies that other cultures don't have. The melting pot that we do have in Trinidad and Tobago is almost unique in its nature. And I really do appreciate certain things about our society. However, what we have done, we have we have we have spoiled a place that has so much potential. I sing to some of my friends. I say we tear down paradise and we put up a parking lot. I think that song is for Trinidad and Tobago. You know, and I feel strongly as though my responsibility is here first. I don't know where life will take me tomorrow, and I understand that I may have more responsibility or purpose as well to the wider world. But I also have, wherever I am, whenever I am going to stand for what is right. And that is what has found me in every institution and organization that I've been involved in, including Trinbago, fighting for what is right, standing up for what is correct.
How difficult? Let me interject here. I just really, really, really into your conversation. How difficult it is, how challenging it is for a person like you with that kind of mindset for the future of Trinidad and Tobago to make the place a better place. I know it has been very challenging for you. I know there were fences put up so high you can't get over. If
And
given
that's all, fella, man, don't worry.
but I was always and still am very interested in the concept that you would like to put forward to encourage the place to be that paradise. I mean, we really have all the potential. It is still there. How are you gonna? What will enable you to bring about some kind of change?
I continue to just make my best effort. That's all that I can do on a daily basis. And I believe God will do the rest. So we say, do your best and God go do the rest.
Right.
That's all my responsibility is. I can't do more than I can do. Right? And again, victory is with our Creator. He will find the way. All He wants us really to do is just whatever you could do your best.
Yeah.
My thing is this one. When I look at the U.S. elections, the Republicans and the Democrats, what we read from year to year, the election was so narrow between the Republicans and the Democrats in the last election. The votes there are people who are Republican. You're born a Republican, your grandfather is a Republican, you are Republican, and there are Democrats who are come from the same vein, the same DNA. So it's almost as if it is you embrace the heritage of a political entity that is associated with your name, right? And it's no different with this first past the post voting system. If you try to get Trinidadians out of that mindset that you're either PNM or you're UNC, that you try to Leasing and Hope and Hammersmith and Hope, they try to say that they are third party providing an alternative to what is there. Because we've all tried the PNM and the UNC and we haven't gotten what we wanted. Then Abdullah is MSJ, he has this perspective. We have Gary Griffith now and this NTA. What we've noticed through the years in our politics. In 1956, when there were 24 seats being contested at the general election, the PNM won 13 of the 24, and they held the reins of power. By 1961, the number of seats had increased to 30. And then through the years, we're now in the realm of about 41 seats. But what has established, what has been fossilized into the politics is we split right down the middle, and you have to have a base. The politics is about either your UNC or PNM, either you're Afro-oriented, Indo-oriented. And the swing vote is what makes the difference in terms of who forms the government. When you have parties like the MSJ, the NTA, Hope, and yourself, you've been involved in a general election before. Do you realistically see yourself as being able to break that mold of the 300,000 people that vote PNM and vote UNC, and being able to capture that base in order to foist itself into political life sufficiently to lead a government and to make decisions at that level? It's a losing battle, you know. I mean, let's be realistic. It's 1956 to now, every 5 years, and it's always the marginals that tip the scales, and then somebody. What we've been living in is an age of deadlock politics. Things are so close in terms of it started with the 1818, and then Tobago broke the tip the scales, and then we got to 2016, and things. Now we are at that point. Now it was what? It's now 2119. So, do you honestly believe that you would be able to contest the next general election and change the psychology and the psyche of Trinidadians across the board and have them vote for your party?
You think our system is democratic?
There's nothing about our system that is democratic.
You think the American system is democratic?
It's not. It's not in any.
It's a sham. I want to use harsh language. Is a it show. That's what it is. It's smoke and mirrors, and the consolidation of power by entities that share the same fundamental principles.
Philosophy. Yeah.
In Trinidad and Tobago, the UNC and the PNM have any difference in terms of their philosophy politically? Is one left or right? No, they both left off. They both believe in crass capitalism, greed, materialism, accumulation of wealth, just degradation of our society. And therefore, as government has changed hands from one to the next, this society has continued to plummet in a negative direction. I mean, I have said very openly that this demagoguery that takes place, you can't have people corrupting a system using wealth to influence others to vote one way or the next, and then you speak about democracy. That's not democracy. You have people who are so connected to parties because that is where their bread and butter comes from. They feel as though if my party does not win, I will not have a job tomorrow and I will not eat. Now, they may not believe in the philosophy of the party. They may not even like what is taking place, but they need to survive. Innately, our system is corrupt. Innately, it is corrupt. You cannot tell me, and I use the analogy, I say, listen, when I'm doing mathematics, there's a point for the answer, but there's also a point for the working, right? And the working is the most important thing because you could guess the answer, right? Every single Trinbagonian should write on their ballot paper, honestly, why they're voting for whatever. And everyone that put because Indian or African or this that should be placed in the rubbish bin, because the working is absolutely incorrect. So how can you end up at an answer, a solution politically, if you're working, if the input is ignorance, racism, corruption, self-benefit? What is that?
People vote by emotion, and people vote because they're led by politicians who play on their emotions. People don't vote scientifically speaking as to, I have listened to this party, I've listened to the other party, and scientifically, what they're saying, they're not making sense. You think the man on the street who taking the maxi up and down the main road care about understanding what Imbert has to say and his logic behind taxes and increasing taxes and reducing the subsidies 4 times to reduce the subsidies? The man on the street don't understand when you remove a gas subsidy 4 times and costs go up by way of transportation costs, that impacts upon every other thing, and food prices would go up, and the man on the street doesn't want to question, well, why would a government, or why would a prime minister, or why would parliamentarians who are placed in a position to look after our needs make decisions that obviously the domino effect would be negative upon the population?
Yeah. Well, I am glad to say. Well, I'm glad to say today that, let me tell you something. The man on the street, it have a philosophy. An elder taught me, Brother Bilal, who feels it knows it. You see when you're feeling the pressure, you just know, and somebody going to get the backlash of it. I could tell you that. And people right now are feeling the pressure. It is a shame that there isn't the articulation of others to properly inspire the people to move away from this nonsense. And due to the unfair, the unfairness in our system, people and smaller parties like myself, we are not given a fair chance. We don't have the resources, we don't have the access to media, etc. But those things are changing. And as Mr. Stuart Young would have highlighted, I don't know if you all remember, he said that the greatest threat to democracy meaning the mockery that they are in control of, is social media. Because you, me, all of us can put out our ideas at a low cost and reach thousands and hundreds of thousands of people. And therefore, there's an apathy by the young people of Trinidad and Tobago. Just look at all of our social media, our influence, etc. We are not on this PNM UNC nonsense. We're not on that. And it is now time for us to translate not being on that into being on something that will serve us.
Let me ask you a question. I'm inviting a comment from you. Let me paint a scenario. Beverly Ramsey Moore is the president of Trinbago. She was introduced into the PAN fraternity, or at an administrative level. It feels like in my mind's eye, that was was it 4 years ago? It would have been just...
No, 6 years she has been serving as Queen of Pan, self-proclaimed Queen of Pan. You must seek refuge when you call her name sometimes.
All right. Well,
I
lost 2 years in my calculations. I probably lost the 2 years in COVID.
I hope it's not the Obia. You must seek refuge.
Yeah. But no, let's look at it from this angle. She's president of Trinbago. Sometimes I look at the optics. Yeah? When I attend the PAN events, I look at the optics. I look at what is happening. Randall Mitchell is the minister, the line minister.
Minister of Culture, yeah?
Minister of Culture. I often ask myself, why is it Randall Mitchell is attending all these Trinbago events and appears to be so intricately involved in the what's happening with Trinbago. Trinbago is a statutory body. it depends on for its bread and butter from the state, and meaning subventions. And it lives on subventions. None of Trinbago, Tuco, these are bodies that can't sustain themselves. They always depend on government handouts, and it appears that they will never, historically speaking, their DNA is a DNA of living on the breath of life that comes from the purses of the state. They have never been able to manage money. They've never been able to manage land. They've never been able to manage themselves. Now, in all fairness to Ramsey Moore has managed to inject into the lifeblood of the steel band movement a lot of events, and events sell the work that she has been doing. It doesn't mean to say that the workings, right? The math says that we're seeing events, but the inner workings as to what takes place behind the scenes, we've never been privileged to know it. I sometimes I speak with steel bands and management, and they send 2 representatives to a meeting. When I speak to the steel band players, they say that they have never been asked to voice their view as a player as to what decision the band should make when they attend a Trinbago meeting. So sometimes when I speak to bands, the players are disconnected from the management of the band in such a way that the management makes a decision without even consulting players.
Yeah.
So in this whole thing about democracy and making decisions at a Trinbago level, what happens is Ramsey Moore has two persons from each band turns up, and they say we're going to give up the 12 acres of land in Trin City. They're probably going to embark on another exercise, a promise by the state that they're going to hand them a promise. They'll get them an interest at that old post office property there on Rising Road. Ramsey Moore sells it to the public that we'll have a gift shop and a museum, and we have a space of our own. I don't know if it's short-sightedness that Ramsey Moore can't see that there's no way you could equate 13 acres of land with a promise. She didn't even wait to give up the land after she'd gotten the structure completed and gotten possession of a museum and possession of a gift shop, as if I don't know what monetary value she intends to get out of a museum and a work and a gift shop. How much jersey and how much memorabilia could be sold? One would think, I read in the newspaper with Martin Daly, he said that he thought that what would have happened is that they would have developed the land, the 13 acres of land, build, I would imagine, guest houses, build villas.
A chrome factory. There was an application for a gas station at the point because it is in a extremely lucrative position, that land. So Mr. Ambani, a billionaire, really excellent businessman, I doubt he's a fool, and he desires that 13 acres. If the spot down in the port by the old post office is so much better, well, let him take that one now. Why didn't take that one?
Only Ramsey Moore could see the benefit in our old rundown post office as opposed to land.
Well, maybe she's the only one seeing that benefit. Maybe there's a different benefit that she's getting. Maybe we are all fools and she has her benefit that we have no idea of.
I don't think, yeah. We ain't all fools. We ain't all fools.
Listen,
They don't work out the machinations.
This woman said that we never own the property. We never own the property.
So Trinbago was building illegally then. She threw the previous presidents under the bus. When they was building that abandoned building, they was acting illegally.
She went to the property and she cleaned the property. So she was trespassing on
when she was talking about planting on the land, all that thing was what? False promises, or she and all was planning to illegally utilize that. All the time she never talked about how the land is not properly
vested.
Yeah. As soon as she gave away the land, she's running a narrative in the public space. And the Pan people so foolish that they started to sing that mantra. I guess it thinks to people more than once.
It's only Ms. Ramsey Moore and those who are feeding at the trough that are trying to push that mantra. And it is important for us to articulate this position for people to understand. Because what she's been doing in the meetings is anyone who will speak out. She would victimize you, try to shut you up, do all kind of stuff. I have recordings of Trinbago meetings where literally you go to the mic, and when you start to give your opinion or ask questions, she gets up as the chair and is shouting and, yeah, we don't want to hear you, this, that, what. That is the conduct that this woman, who has received a national award, partakes in. This woman has stolen 3 years in office, first claiming that in COVID she can't have no election. And then when COVID is finished, moving a motion which is nowhere in our constitution to continue for 2 years. And politicians have a way, they like when you are compromised, because then they have you. You have to do whatever them tell you to do. And we have a compromised president who is illegal in office for the last two years plus.
Illegal in the sense that our election was due in October 2022, which was not have, and what on the basis of
her excuse of COVID had vanished, and she still refused to have election. So she moved a motion that is not legal to continue by a show of hands to stay as a president. That is illegal.
COVID was out of the way by January 2022. There was no COVID was not on the minds of the spaces had begun to open up. So by October, there is no excuse for not having an election. Constitutionally, could an election have been held by way of virtual voting, or by October 2022 we could have had a physical vote where people attend?
Listen, this woman went on to public television and said to Mr. Jason Williams, I am going to have election in whatever day, whatever time of the... And she just didn't after. She just... Listen, power, absolute power, corrupts absolutely. And the people who she depends on for this subvention and this set of money that comes to Trinbago, the people who she depends on, she's now working hand in hand with them. She is now renting the minister's building
I think
for $70,000.
$70,000 a month. She's moved to a place where there's barely a proper sign.
She moved from a place.
I said overgrown and bush. The hedge taller than the building. So when you're driving past, you don't even know it's Trinbago office you're driving past.
She moved from a place where she was paying $15,000. Sorry. She said that Mr. Israel Khan wanted to increase to $20,000. And she found an alternative. She changed. She was looking for somewhere else. And she ended up with $70,000. Now, just based on that economics, I would not have Miss Ramsey Moore manage my parlor.
Oh, a snow cone cat.
And she feeds us that. Because guess what? That $70,000 is being provided to Trinbago to pay the minister.
Well,
I can't understand how such a close interaction could be allowed.
Well, my thing is this, right? On comment of the close interaction, when we have Randall Mitchell in a Trinbago jersey in pan and powder, shipping on the street like in the rhythm and timing of DJ Anna, why is he wearing a Trinbago jersey, the minister? That association seems to be so intimate that it doesn't look well. I'm not saying that there is anything to be concerned about. I'm not saying that...
Well, there's a definite conflict of interest to me. This building, if it is so wonderful or whatever, put it on the market, let somebody else take it up. But don't let an institution that depends on you and your government for subvention take on that. It reeks. It stinks. It stinks. And I mean, I can't be the only one who is willing to stand up and say it stinks.
Well, I think it's a reflection of the Pan fraternity. If they're not saying anything, if 13 acres of land was basically thrown away, and for a rundown building on Rising Road that is not even your possession, and a decision was made, meaning that the PAN fraternity turn out and vote for that. They supported that decision. Then the myopia is not on Beverly Ramsey more, the myopia is on the whole industry. All these people are undereducated, miseducated, and not educated.
So here we go again. So you are forced in this realm of victimization where you are dependent as a band leader on Trinbago to give you to invite you to perform in all of these things that they are holding, right? That's how you earn revenue.
Yeah.
And you have to come in a meeting and raise your hand in favor of what she is doing, or to keep your hand down. If you raise your hand, you continue to be in favor. If you keep your hand down, guess what happens to you? Your band don't have a single play out, a single gig to be invited to from now till Kingdom Come. Your band, if you play the sweetest melody, guess what happens to you on Panorama? Somehow you're coming last. This is the type of culture. So they keep you dependent, and then they whip your tail if you only stand up or speak out or don't do exactly what they say. And it's not like you could hide and express yourself, by a show of hands, all those who agree with me as president. And you see the hands go up. Let me tell you what is going on meeting. You would see her cronies, Tobago for Tobago. Imagine the ignorance of people. Tobago is for Tobago. So Tobago, no matter what, voting for Tobago. And I like, what you talking about? If something is right, it is right. If something is wrong, it is wrong. It is not Tobago for Tobago. Come on. So that is the statement. So you see the Tobago hands go up one time. And then the people who work in her office, because they are band leaders, who work in her office. Some, I don't know what their job portfolio is, but they're on the payroll. And their hands go up one time too. And then they look around to see who else hands up. You better put up your hand,
When you say payroll, let's be clear because the public is listening. Is it that when it is you're a member of the executive, you get paid? It's a paid position? Or
yes.
It is.
It's a paid position. Stipends that are enormous if you call them stipends. Miss Beverly Ramsey Moore is taking home somewhere around $30-something thousand plus whatever other additional stuff.
Well, and that is how often? A month?
30-something a month.
Okay.
Plus,
what about the executive members? They get
traveling expenses, whatever. They are different. Now these things are being hidden as well from us. But there are indications upwards of $10,000. All of the executive members. Then there are driver.
Even if you're co-opted.
Even if you're co-opted, listen.
When they travel and go to panoramas around the world, who's paying for that? You have any idea?
That's an excellent question. I would love to see our financial records because there's some discrepancies that I really would like to go through. I would like, and I don't want, normally financial records come on the day of our convention, the day we're going to vote. I don't want that then. Give me before so I could go through this to make a decision based on what you are doing. Listen, the culture of governance is poor, piss poor,
The audited figures as to how money is spent and how funds are disbursed, that is not brought to a ban in advance of a day when a decision has to be made that they could consult. So what you're saying is basically the players may be in a position where they can't even be consulted because a band only gets information on the day that they have to vote on the decision.
On the day of, listen, it is practiced on the day of convention when we are going to vote for our executive. Sometimes that's when they bring in the financial results.
What about the choosing of judges? Because every year we see some judges are continuously and ceremoniously included at each year. What is the criteria for choosing the component of judges for a panorama? Do you have any idea as a process?
Good question. I do not know. I have not been in administration. I know there are continual complaints, and that is something that needs to be looked at very, very carefully, so that the presumption of unfairness is totally moved away.
My thing is this, Fuad. In every institution, there has to be clear guardrails that prevents negative optics. If it is we have the minister should not be chipping in a ban or chipping on the road up Abercrombie Street with the president of Trinbago and with a judge or judges. What I noticed, I'm not calling names, what I noticed is we have the president of Trinbago, the line minister, and someone who I know to be a judge, all chipping in the same space. That optic doesn't look good. It's like the panorama final results. They're deliberating on it, and you're seeing a member of the executive mingling in and among the Well, we can't say involved. She's just mingling there, and one wonders. It doesn't look good now. In all fairness to Trinbago and Beverly Ramsey Moore, I like the optics. I like how she is well dressed, and in every event she has the public relations down pack. She's in all the steel band shows, the private events that Panyards have. She's in Phase 2, she's in Desperados. If anybody has something, she turns up.
Well, anybody, but anybody big. We have some issues there as well. So it's a big band thing as well, it would appear. So there's no concern for the small
band. But the optics in a small band, the optics at a small band event ain't gonna be good optics. You ain't gonna waste time going in an event that have 100 people. You're going to the event that have 500-600 people.
Well, you know the thing, ain't no business like show business. And there's a lot of show business taking place at the moment. But show me what have you done in terms of development of steel pan. Show me what you have done in terms of moving us away from this dependency. I do not want dependency. I would love our 13 acres returned. I would love Trinbago to develop.
That go on. Forget the 13 acres.
Trinbago has... Not at all. No. I'm not forgetting that.
Trinbago has projected itself as the world governing body for steel band. Does Trinbago get any royalties from the panoramas in New York, in London? Does Trinbago have any say in the competition that is being held in New York and in London? I know that I see the optics is in one newspaper Thursday the 19th of September. She's posing here with certificates in hand on the desk. I wonder if so she's getting lots of awards and recognition. But my thing is, does the world governing body get any royalties? Does Trinbago get any wealth, any accumulated monies, any sort of boon from all these events that are panoramas that are held in St. Lucia, Antigua? I know that they may visit.
We are in a worse position if you are speaking about the members of Trinbago and the bands which formulate the core of this institution. We are in a worse position than we were before. We are in a position where we have terrible governance. We are in a position of total dependence on government and collusion between government and our executive. We are at a point where we have had the worst culture of governance ever in steel pan history, in my opinion. And it's going nowhere.
Persons listening may want to know if you have an axe to grind. What I read in the newspaper and the article reflected that you were the barred from attending Trinbago meetings. As a representative from your band, aren't you entitled to represent Western Stars Philharmonic Steel Orchestra by attending meetings? Is it that was there a formal disciplinary process where you were formally charged? There was natural justice where you were allowed to respond to the allegation against you. What did this happen that caused you to be barred?
Yeah. So again, I'm standing on a fundamental point where as I spoke about our electoral process, which is contained in Article 10 of our Constitution, every 3 years there must be the election of officers of the executive, central executive, and then the regional executives. So when Miss Ramsey Moore did this trick and refused to have elections that she thought she would have lost during COVID, and then with the aid and assistance of a shameful Mr. Douglas Williams, our office manager, moved a motion to continue in office for 2 years. I expressed that this was unconstitutional in that meeting, and I pointed, along with others, to the particulars of our Constitution that states that that action was unconstitutional. She continued. She had already planned to have this vote for her to continue. In the subsequent meeting of Trinbago, I walked out. I stood on the point that, listen, we cannot continue like this. Until there are elections, I don't want any part of this. I am not going to give you validity by sitting here and by continuing. And there was a book that was given out, an audit book or something. I walked to the desk and I deposited it on her table and I left. There are other band members, delegates, who left as well, a few. So I have been, me personally, that was my choice, to boycott from that point. Now that finally, 3 years later, 3 years of her being illegally as president, people wrote to the minister, people wrote to the prime minister as well, explaining the position, etc. After 3 years, finally we have elections in Trinbago on October the 6th. And I would have said, good, now is the time to get rid of this problem that we have, to get rid of this poison in our institution. And I ensured that I was financial. I went and I paid my dues in my office, my regional office. They helped me through the process, etc. I filed my nomination paper. And at the Central Executive Building, Mr. Randall Mitchell's building, went through everything. No problem. That is Friday. The subsequent Sunday, I go to this last meeting before elections. And there are police waiting for me, plainclothes police, who are now a constant figure in Trinbago's setup. So we have an additional cost now, always for police, private security for Miss Ramsey Moore, and police, plainclothes police, paid to protect the meeting. I don't know what they are to protect. When people doing wrong, these are the things that they take measures.
Probably expecting a steel band war, an old-fashioned steel band war, so she have.
Boy, Panman like they lose. Panman lose that venom. Anyway, so when you're cooking in the sun, so I come to the meeting. One of the officers is someone who I know, and he say, boy, here what's going on, eh? They prepare for you, and they tell us if you insist to come into the meeting, to call extra police and let them arrest you.
You didn't answer the question. Was the suspension, or you being debarred from the meetings, was the finding on you? Did you go through a proper disciplinary process? Right. So they just told you that you're banned.
So I talking about 2024. A week ago, the first time I was given a letter stating that I was suspended by a motion.
But they can't give you a letter and suspend you unless you have had a proper hearing where you allowed a representative and you hear what the allegations against you are and you're able to respond.
Well, according to our Constitution, they cannot. And according to natural justice, they cannot. But according to Miss Beverly Ramsey Moore, that is what it is.
We have a minute left. What do you think are her chances in the election that is pending now? Do you think that the pointers are that she would be re-elected unanimously? Or do you think that there is a realistic challenge to her tenure?
With all of her wrongdoings, she has no chance of continuing. Ms. Ramsey Moore deserves to be in pan jail. And I am very, very sure that she will end up there. I am sure as well that given all of the violations that she has done, she will end up in a lot of problems legally very, very soon. Maybe it is that she's playing for that. Maybe she prefers to postpone elections and continue in office while facing the courts. That's how desperate some people are. They prefer to be in power in stripes, in white and black stripes, than to come out of office. But
Fuad, I want to thank you for making yourself available to us today, right? It's 6 o'clock. We will invite you again. The purpose of the program really is to try to get, the public views, to try to hear what the people who are occupying this space and what their view is. We have nothing here personal against Ramsey Moore and Trinbago. We are simply trying to seek information. I've sought interviews with her in the same manner that I've sought with you, and she has not taken my calls. She agreed at one time, she took a call and then never took after that. So I would love to have her here to have her version of the story. But I am not here to cast aspersions on the good president. I think she has been doing
optically. On what? You make a mistake there, where you say that?
No, I'm saying optically, she's a good president. She's doing everything that appears to be the correct thing.
Yeah, I can't, again, you see, when I hear something wrong, I just stand up and correct it. And that might be a challenge that I face. Listen, I am willing to pay the price for the truth. I am willing to pay the price for the truth, because the price for falsehood is way, way greater. And it will not just face me alone, it will face, my children and the society in the future. As I said to some of the executive officers who are carrying out these illegal activities, so they actually, some of them admit this is really wrong, Fuad. But we don't have a choice. And what I say to them is that today for me, but guess what will happen tomorrow? Tomorrow for you. And that has been the history of Ms. Ramsey Moore. From her start in office, she has dismissed, removed, moved around officers, put people, frustrate others, resign, all kind of thing. Just because they just don't toe the line. They don't follow in the wrongdoings that she's taking part in. And that today for me, tomorrow for them. Let us as Pan people, let us as Trinbagonians, let us find that strength again to stand up for what is right, boy. Or else we have no hope. We have no hope in this place, That is our only hope. Our only hope is that we find the strength and the conviction. Pray. Trinidad and Tobago, pray today. And pray for that strength to stand for what is right, boy. And stop studying the money. God will provide. Right? So I know the time.
Thanks again. And hopefully if Ms. Ramsey Moore is listening, she would avail herself to us, and we should hear from her soon. Take care. Enjoy evening.
Yeah, right.
Everyone.
Take care. Blessings.
Salaam alaikum, inshallah.
Wa alaikum salam. Peace be unto everyone. Blessings.
Blessings. Take care.
Yeah.
Well, folks, that's it for today's edition of Hard Talk with Farid Ali. Our special guest, Fuad Abu Bakr. Certainly hope that we can get him back on the program at some particular time. Farid, enjoy the evening, and thank you so very much.
Blessings on your way home. Take care. Blessings to the public.